All right, so I need to do a little disclaimer before we release this episode. So my cameraman was otherwise disposed for this shoot with Bassem. So I thought, let me get my brother to come and to go behind the cameras. He had one job. One job. Make sure the cameras are running fine. That was it. One job.
You said focus and press the red button.
Okay.
I focused. I concentrated. I pressed the button.
So if you're wondering when you're watching this episode why it looks like it was filmed in the 1940s, now you know why. Because of this monkey over here. One job. One job. Hope you enjoy the episode. Let me bring on the nice little effects.
I think it looks fine.
Yeah, good job. Good job. Guys, welcome to another episode. Today I've got a very nice guest for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bassem Youssef.
Yep.
How are you? How is everything?
I'm cool.
I'm sure you don't need an introduction, but for those 3 people who don't know what you do.
No, there's a lot of people who don't know me.
Yeah.
They don't even care. You know, I'm kind of like, for them, maybe I'm a little bit of old news.
No.
I'm pretty cool, but you know, you can go ahead and say.
Go ahead.
What kind of a legend I am.
I mean, legend. You've been on all. let's put it this way. You've been on all the shows to note that is worth being a show. You've been on your show, the show. You've been on the Daily Show. You've been on Jibber with Jabber podcast. Anything worth mentioning? You're on.
Absolutely. You kind of like I like how you kind of like skipped Stephen Colbert and Trevor Noah. And then you got like Jibber Jabber for
obviously, right? Because they're not paying me for that kind of advertising. Where do you go from surgeon to satiristic comedy? I mean, from what I see, every doctor that I know and dentist and everyone thinks they're funny. They have the driest humor in the world. They always have that whole, I saved the finger, but we lost the leg. That kind of
no, because doctors have an entitlement because they tell you the joke while you're under the knife. So you have absolutely no choice but to laugh. And also doctors have a God's complex, which means that everything that they say or do are cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't argue with that. And because if you do, you are going to lose the finger and you're gonna lose the leg.
The finger and the leg this time.
No, the thing is like shifting from medicine to comedy was never planned. Maybe I watched Jon Stewart all my life. Maybe I dreamed, as a kind of a fantasy, the same way that you want to dream of being a Superman when you're a little kid. That I want to be on television, but that's just like daydreaming.
But where did you go from? I'm actually doing this now. How did that come about?
It was kind of. I think it creeped up on me.
Yeah.
Because we had the revolution, and then I did the YouTube videos. I didn't think it would go anywhere. Then millions of people watching, and then as I was ready to leave and going to Cleveland, where I would start my fellowship there as a pediatric heart surgeon. People said like, hey, it's doing well. Why don't you come on television? I said, okay, let's give it a year.
Yeah.
And I did a show. It was first recorded in a pre-recorded in a studio, and then the next thing I know, I want to do it on live theater. And next thing I know, it's the biggest show in the Middle East. And then next thing I know, I'm just drawn into it. And all that time, I'm still a doctor.
So you were still doing.
I was still go to rounds and teach and even like do a little bit of operations. And then I think after a year and a half of doing that, I kind of handed in my resignation, and I just like said, this is gonna be my life now.
Because the numbers were insane. You were getting like 30 million.
Yeah, between 30 and 40 million viewers per episode, and it was crazy. But by the way, a lot of people talk about this like in amazement. I talk about it in fear and in awe, because when 40 million people watch you, that means that there are 40 million people who have an opinion about you, an opinion about what you say, and there was a lot of pressure doing that.
And do you feel like, the timing of what you were doing?
Oh yeah, the timing was everything. The circumstances were everything. I think it just like everything just like lined up.
Were you planning to do that anyway, or
no,
as in the satire side of it, or was it kind of
no? Everything kind of like lined up, and it was not planned at all. The circumstances, the political circumstances, social circumstances, what was happening in the world, what was happening in the country, it kind of like aligned exactly. If one thing has changed, that it wouldn't have happened. So that's why when people tell me, "Tell us, how did you do it?" It's like I have no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. I was in the bedroom in the other side of the house.
I,
and
I, I have no idea because one of the most common questions when you become a little bit known and then you speak to little young people. It's like, what do you tell to young people? What's your advice to them? And I say, like, my advice to you, don't listen to someone like me.
Yeah.
Because I'm older than you. I'm in a different generation. My circumstances were different. What I can tell you happened to me at work might not happen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're given your circumstances are much more different than me, and that's why it is very individualistic.
Yeah, but how did it come to a point, like, obviously you became an icon in the satire comedy, especially in the Middle East.
I hate that word, but okay.
Yeah, but you know what, you have to take credit where it's due, whether you planned for it or whether or not.
Yeah,
well, there is enough people calling you that for it to be a fact now.
Yeah, and there's more people who hate me for what I said.
Yeah, but those people, I mean, if you look at all the other stuff that they hate, it's like
you never know. Listen, and I think it is one of the things that keep me grounded is that to understand that all of us are very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of iconization of people is the worst thing that can happen. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because suddenly you put people on pedestals and but we are humans and we do mistakes and we do lots of mistakes and we mess up. And now that icon, his mistakes are magnified and it's terrible, and the kind of pressure that you live in. And not just about mistakes. If you, for example, did something else outside of what people think that you're an icon in, it is doubly rejected. It is rejected with a passion because they just want to lock you into that. And they want iconization is a prison. It's terrible.
And when it comes to satire, there's a lot of courage involved. There's a lot of, especially there's a difference between satire in the UK and satire in a Middle Eastern company.
Yeah, okay, listen. A lot of people would tell me, "Oh my God, you're so brave. How did you cut the car shoes?" It's like I was not doing this.
But this is what I'm asking you. Was it a case of you thought, okay, I'm going to have to be careful what I say, or were you just like doing it and then...
No. Listen. You see, people just like see from the outside and say like, "Oh my God, that was so courageous. That was so brave." And I said that all what was on my mind is to do a good show. Yeah. That was the problem. I didn't do that to get some kind of a credit that like I am courageous, I'm invincible. But the thing is that what I did it because this is the way that you do satire. You punch up, you talk about what's happening, you don't ignore what is happening, and you talk about it as it is. That is satire. Anything else is not. Yeah. So me coming from a nerdy background as a doctor, there are 10 steps to do an operation. Yeah. It's not 9, it's not 11, and you have to follow the steps. And I applied that to political satire. This is how you do satire. You punch up, you talk, you make fun of people in authority as much as you can, within the realms as much as you can. You try to break the glass ceiling. You try to push the boundaries, the envelope as much as you can. Within your capacity, of course. And that is satire. That is not bravery. But that is not courage. That is just doing the right thing. I was worried about people. Didn't like not liking an episode or not liking the show more than like me getting in jail, because if I got in jail, I'm a hero. But if they don't like my joke, I'm lame. Yeah,
but at the same time, the point that I'm trying to make is also it's again satire. Yes, you're punching up. You're going against that during the normal time and during what was happening in Egypt at that time. There's a bit of a difference in that. I think there is a bit of fearlessness in that, because there's one thing doing it normally and another thing doing it when the whole country is going.
I had to shut down that part because you need to really focus on writing the show. You get consumed and invested in the production process, in the writing process, in the creation process. I'm not saying like, oh, let's write this so we can look brave. So let's write this because that's
it's funny.
Because it's a good joke, it's a good message. Yeah. So I mean, I never even posed. And the thing is, like, people project that on you, whether people who love you or people who hate you. People who are like, oh my God, you're so brave. And then the people who hate you, it's like, oh, you were acting brave. Where are you now? It's like, well, I mean, I never even claimed I was like some sort of a warrior. Yeah. I never claimed, not in my life. I said like, I even like said it, guys. This is a comedy show, and just like you're putting too much pressure on it. And that was the problem with the show. Yeah, the people never looked at that show as a satirical show.
Yeah.
They looked at it as something else.
Yeah.
Whether
As
like
part of the
someone
revolution.
who's speaking up in our name, or someone who's not doing enough, or someone who's being a claw in somebody's hand. It's just like people just projected their own problems on the show. And that was the difficulty of doing that show.
So-
All I wanted to do is good
Just good fun.
political satire, good entertainment.
Yeah. Where did the Morsi hat idea come from?
What do you mean?
The giant hat.
I don't
that
know.
you wore. Where did that come
I
from?
would say that this is like one joke that people that kind of like took people's attention, and I don't think that it was that great of a joke. It was a
But
very
it's visually very
it was
funny.
it was a physical joke. It just somebody wore a hat. I magnified it 10 times. It's as simple as that. I wouldn't think even say that it is the funniest of the jokes.
Okay, but
I
when-
think we actually had a much more smarter joke. I mean, people focus on that.
Yeah.
And
But did you not go in with the hat when you got
Yeah, but like again, these stunts, that was not the core of the show.
Yeah.
And again, people just they gravitate to the very superficial
Yeah.
parts. So again, the people who like, oh my God, that's a great show. People just like, oh, you just like made fun of him. It's like, really wearing a hat? I mean, that's it. I mean, I think the show had a very smart way of addressing things, and the thing is, people kind of it's kind of like when you have like a piece of art. People gravitate to
Look at it, yeah.
to the most flashy and stuff, but you in your heart, you know that you have done actually other pieces of art that was much more worthy and didn't get that.
Yeah.
I think that we had the idea, the privilege of making a very smart show. And I wouldn't think that the hat was one of the smartest. It was a very, very simple, obvious joke.
the same? Because once the power shift changed, it seemed like the same people that loved you were then against you.
Yeah, because they.
So how did that?
Because they loved the show because it served their own purpose. And
The second it was against-
then they don't understand that satire is a satirist is an equal opportunity offender.
No holds barred. Like there's no favorites and.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make fun of the Muslim Brotherhood because I hated them. Because I did that because they were in power, and they did some things that I believed that was worthwhile making fun of. The same thing when the military took over. I believe the same. I hold no personal grudges against either of them. That is the nature of the show. But the thing is, people said like, and the Muslim Brotherhood hated me because I was not on their side.
Yeah.
And then the people who loved me because I was against the Muslim Brotherhood and then turned against me, they hated me because I'm not on their side anymore.
Yeah.
I was never on anybody's side. I was just a guy who was cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And I was hated. I got hated for both of them. And I said, you know what? That's not my problem. It's their problem.
Yeah. And you had people who like the death threat thing was a very real.
I didn't think
Thing,
about
right?
that. I didn't think about that.
You didn't think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you start thinking about that, you paralyze your own brain. And you need your brain in order to continue to
But
create.
you didn't think about it, but did you see it as a reality, or you thought people are just because you had people who were saying
I was saying like if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
There's nothing really. Nothing really. Really nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just carry on your. I mean, there's like death threats everywhere,
Yeah.
even when you get into the car and get on the highway.
Yeah.
You can't just like think about that.
There's a
every time.
difference between an accident and people asking sheikhs and stuff, shall we kill him now? And they're like, not yet. And not even no. Not yet.
Again, I would use that as a material.
Yeah.
And I didn't think too much about it. Again, people just want to. Again, I don't put too much weight about it. I just like took it as it is, because if you get too involved into this, you're not going to be able to work.
And it's like it's one of those things that you have to kind of separate from the rest.
It's like listen, people would like to make a fuss about it. People, oh my God, I've got death threats, and it's just like a couple of comments on YouTube. It's like, come on, guys, come on.
But you never felt like it was. You never had anyone.
Well, no, there's like a lot of stuff that was happening behind the scenes, and people telling me like, there are people coming at you, but like, you can't let yourself get into that, and you can't also kind of like victimize yourself and saying, oh my God, I have a death threat. Nobody
And I'm
cares.
definitely not going to stop just because of this as well.
Yeah.
And the whole situation with the whole, okay, now they're looking for you. They're putting these fines on you, ridiculous amounts, like £100 million, right?
Yeah.
Or something like
It
that.
was a way to
So
kind
an
of
indirect
it was
way.
an indirect way to put me in, and that's why I left.
Yeah.
That's why, because this is the way they kind of get you indirectly in a way like, oh, it's not about freedom of expression. But the thing is, I mean, I think a lot of people, of course, focus on the Al-Bernameg, the show, because it was the biggest thing. But what I'm really proud of is what I have done after the Bernameg, because it was. I would believe it is very hard to come back after having everything taken away from you, and to reinvent yourself.
Yeah. In a new place as well, in a new country.
The reinvention, I believe, is the one thing that I'm very proud of. I believe that the meteoric rise of the Bernameg is great. I'm very proud of, but I think there's a lot of luck into that. But to be really on top and have everything taken from beneath you and having to start all over again, I think this is the most thing I'm proud of.
And how did you feel during that moment? I want to get more of in depth. The second you realized, if I don't get, I'm going to be on the no-fly list tomorrow, so I need to go now.
Oh yeah.
How was that pressure and with the family and with
the verdict was at 12 noon. I jumped on a plane at 5.
Literally, you were like...
Yeah. My lawyer said, like, get out, because if that will be on the media, and there will be a campaign, and then it will be preparing the public to arrest you. So you have
and
to...
once they got you, that's it. They'll put a fine that there's no way you're going to pay, and that's it.
It was not about the fine. It's about locking me up and preventing me from traveling.
Yeah.
So I had to... Yeah, so I think it was the right decision.
And why America?
Well, it wasn't America at the beginning. I came here to Dubai.
Ah, okay.
And I spent Dubai for a year. But I think like staying in the Middle East was not a great option, because I was offered to come back on the show, but with certain arrangements. Or
you can do it, but like this.
Or to do empty entertainment, like game shows and stuff, but I couldn't do it. So I said, no, I cannot stay.
It's like a step down, isn't it, from what you built yourself up to?
So I kind of like went to America, and I'm going to start all over again. And to start again in a different language, different audience, different everything.
Yeah.
That was hard. And a lot of people say, like, you're crazy, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
And again, I was always, there was a lot of moments of doubt and uncertainty still there, but I'm quite happy.
And how was it, like, now that you're kind of doing things, or you've been on shows with people that you really looked up to when you were doing your show, and you'd be like the Jon Stewarts and that, was it being accepted by them?
Yeah, it's great. It's validation and everything, but at the end of the day, you do the show, a few 100,000 people watch it, and then you're on your own. It's what you do now in order to advance your career.
You keep
because you cannot just continue saying, I'm the Jon Stewart of Egypt. You cannot continue saying, hey, I've been on Jon Stewart. You have to actually do something that makes you bankable and make you appealing and make you wanted in the community. So I took the very weird decision in trying stand-up comedy in English. And now I have a very stable tour that every weekend I'm somewhere. I'm doing theater. I'm actually selling a one-man show to Audible.
Nice.
Based on my story. And I wrote a children's book, and it's actually being released 2nd of February as we speak.
Nadia.
The magical reality of Nadia. And I'm starting a podcast with Maz Jobrani.
Nice.
In a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of things happening in America, and I'm pitching a show, a travel show to HBO. And so it's good.
So you're not doing that bad, to be honest.
So it's good. I mean, like, I'm not there yet, but at least I'm working. At least there's a potential of something happening, and it is important that I think your survival is the biggest testimony of your success. The fact that after everything that they try to do to put you down, the fact that you survive, the fact that you're there, it means that you are successful. That is the best.
That means that it wasn't potluck.
The thing, and the thing is, and that comes to the definition of success. The definition of success doesn't have to be 40 million people watching you. Oh, that is success, but that's not the only definition of success. Your success could be, you could be successful on a much smaller scale, but in a totally different venue, a totally different field. One of the things that I did was, when I started preaching about plant-based diet and veganism and stuff, that was the most thing that people make fun of me.
Really?
And still do. People put me down, and it was like, oh, you're a has-been now, so you're talking about food, you're talking about veganism. And that kind of like, I took, and like the great Michael Jordan said in his documentary, and I took that personally. And I said, like, I would make the one thing that people make fun of, I would make it the most successful. So Plan B, which I created, is now becoming very soon a paid subscription model
Nice.
where people can actually use medical coaching and health coaching and recipes and guidance in order to reverse their disease. I Plan B, the YouTube channel, I actually sold a show to a shark.
Nice.
I did the same with Al-Bernameg, started on YouTube, and I was selling a show to mainstream TV. And we're talking about like a bigger season on a bigger network of a big reality TV show. And and now I'm making this into a business opportunity, a media opportunity, and a movement opportunity. So that is also a different kind of success.
But I mean, Plan B is not something new. You've been doing it for a long time now,
For
which
seven-
a lot of people didn't see behind the scenes. So they see
for 7 years.
Yeah, so
For
they see it
7
as,
years.
oh, now the show's not working. You're doing this now, trying to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, the last season I was plant-based. I was already talking about being vegan. But people just like the Al-Bernameg kind of like overshadowed everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it is the most important thing is, again, a lot of people say like, what is success? What do you mean you make it? It's like it's you're surviving. You continue to create and you continue to work and you continue to be there, to be present, to be relevant. And I think that is what I was most proud of, because other people who would have been so invested into the glory of Al-Bernameg would have like been broken and would be locked there. And then I discovered that the people who want to lock you in Al-Bernameg are actually locked there themselves.
So they
They're
need
the one
you
who's
there.
locked.
Yeah,
So I said, I'm not going to be locked into that.
yeah.
You know, if I cannot do it because all of the political situation as we know it, I'm not going to be hostage. I'm not going to be held hostage to that. I need because I am not just Al-Bernameg. I'm so many things.
When it comes to the whole plant-based, how long have you? Why did you decide first to go plant-based?
7 years ago, I had a friend of mine. He was a friend of school, and I knew that he was diagnosed by multiple sclerosis, MS.
Okay.
And then I heard that he reversed his disease through plant-based diet, and that blew my mind as a doctor. So
Completely reversed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or at least he doesn't have any episodes anymore. I mean, he was diagnosed in 2006, and then they told him in 5 years' time you're going to be in a wheelchair. Now, 14 years later, he's playing water polo again.
Wow.
So that was enough for me to look into it. And I was one of those people who made fun of vegans. But I read and I made the research and said, that's the way to go. And I never went back.
And since you did you majorly feel the difference when you went into veganism?
Energy, good sleep, less inflammation, less bloating. I feel much better.
Do you feel like it's a mission now for you to kind of
I
push that
think
out and share it?
it's this has been my mission, my journey for 7 years. I've been helping so many people, and despite the ridicule and people making fun of me, the one thing that actually keeps me going is like when you have messages from people saying I had this disease, I had that disease, and then I turned plant-based diet and it helped me or helped my parents. So that is one thing that is I'm so proud of, and I want to continue doing.
And the whole family is vegan?
Yeah.
And did you find that when you first started doing it, were you, because a lot of people who are into the fitness, the number one thing that they think about is
Protein.
I'm not going to be able to get big, I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to do that. How did you get around that? Did you find someone who was going to help you with that?
Anybody with a phone can just Google vegan bodybuilders.
Yeah, but the main issue that I have with that, and especially on Instagram, that there's a lot of these people who have taken steroids, who have got to a place and then stopped eating meat and then became vegan and gone, I'm vegan, look at me. And it's like, yeah, well, you weren't vegan. That's not how
and there's
you
a
got
lot
there.
of people who've been vegan all their lives, by the way. Like Michael Delgado, for example, he was vegetarian all of his life.
Yeah.
And 5 years ago, he turned vegan. So he never eat meat.
Yeah.
The whole idea of you need meat for protein is the biggest myth.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna get steroids into it, well, there's a lot of meat eaters who also take steroids.
Yeah, yeah.
So you really need to equalize the field.
Yeah.
Steroids, well, meat eaters do steroids too.
Yeah.
There are natural bodybuilders who are vegan and natural bodybuilders who are meat eaters.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we could I have a vegan as a Big Ramy natural. That's impossible, because Big Ramy
is
and that kind of thing. This is a lot of steroids, and people are open about it.
yeah.
But I believe that you can. But like when I talk to people, I'm not talking to people who want to go to become Mr. Olympia tomorrow.
Yeah.
99.9% who's listen to me
Is that every day?
are normal people who want to be healthy and want to go to the gym and have a good body.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to compete.
Yeah.
If you're gonna compete, there is a lot of competition. I mean, the 0.1% who want to compete, there is many icons in the vegan bodybuilder world that they can follow.
Yeah.
But like my main message is about getting healthy.
Mm.
You know, the whole thing about this protein obsession.
Mm.
Have you ever seen someone coming to the ER with a protein deficiency?
No, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but how many people a day come to the ER with a heart attack?
Yeah.
With a stroke?
Yeah.
With a diabetic coma?
Yeah.
That's all from
I mean, I'm behind you all the way. I mean, I've tried it many times before. I've done it for 3-4 years at a time. The only reason I went back to me is that when my wife got pregnant, she started getting these meat cravings. So then I was just like, all right, I'll eat with you. That's not fine. And then from there, I was just like, the burger's all right.
I mean, fair enough. But the thing is, like, you can still be like in a good shape, an acceptable, beautiful shape.
Yeah.
On a plant-based diet. And protein is no problem because animals don't create protein. They eat plants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the cow doesn't eat a burger.
Yeah. It's that whole gorilla.
The
eating,
ox does not eat a shawarma.
Yeah.
Right? They eat plants.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a difference. I think there's also a difference between there's some very preachy vegans that are.
Oh, yeah.
I think they put people off when they walk into the room and they say, "I'm vegan." I'm like, "Well, what's your name first?"
You see. This is again another projection on me.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of resist my message because they conflict me with the militant vegans. And those militant vegans who, it's not about like them announcing their identity. It's about them shaming everybody else.
Yeah.
And as someone who ate meat 40 years of my life, I do not do that because I understand how difficult it is and how delicious this is. So my message is the same. If you're eating your burgers and you're feeling happy, good for you, man.
Yeah.
I would not change a thing. Eat all the meat that you want, eat all the cheese you want, as long as you're happy and healthy, good for you. If you're having some health problems, how about you change some things, right? And I don't even say like go cold turkey. It's like, how about like you just like stop the dairy?
Yeah.
Eat the meat, stop the dairy.
Then do meat once a week.
And then reduce it. You know? So it's kind of like, I don't go into people's like, oh, stop eating that.
Yeah.
I said like, do you have a problem with your health?
No, but this is a major issue. Like, there's a lot of people, these kind of vegans that make people just not want anything to do with it.
Yeah,
because of the way they try and shame people and the way they try.
I understand, and I don't like it either. And that's why I even joke about it. I say, like in my stand-up contest, like, hey, I'm Arab and vegan, which makes me scary and annoying. And
Nice.
but I don't use that. I'm more about understanding, and I'm more about like, if you're happy with whatever meat you're eating, good for you, man. Who am I to tell you otherwise?
Yeah.
But if you have some problems, why don't you try something else? I mean, I was out with a very, very beautiful TV presenter, she's a model, and she was like, we're out and we're eating, and she's eating like, it's like, and she's making fun of vegans. And it's like, I'm eating steak. And then as she's doing that, she's having terrible stomach aches. And I said, like, how long have you been having? I said, like, all the time. I said, like, why don't you stop dairy and meat?
Yeah. Just try it.
Just try it. And then she was very resistant. But then next day she called me, like, I feel so sick. So I just try it. And now it's been 3 weeks. And she can't feel any better. I mean, she's like, this is amazing. She's like, this is the best thing I did in my life. And I said, but like, can I cheat a little bit? She's like, go cheat, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever you do that makes you happy. So yeah, I'm with you. The whole anything that is preachy and militant, I don't think it's good. Whether it's about food, whether it's about religion, whether it's about politics. At the end of the day, you just what I do. That's why I called it Plant B. It's a play on Plan B.
Yeah.
It's like if you've tried everything else, try another plan. Try Plan B. Try Plan B. You know.
Yeah.
So that it came from there.
Obviously, during the time of Al-Bernameg, the people, were really into this whole, into the revolution and all that. Do you feel like the people, the second it stopped, they kind of didn't continue the ball rolling and they didn't continue to challenge things and that, and they just kind of like gave up along with the show?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are kind of like passive watchers, you know.
So they're happy to go to the protest, but stand in the back line and make sure nothing happens.
But also a lot of people like there's a lot of people who continue, but out of fear, out of oppression, there was a lot of pushback and a lot of retaliation for what they, for speaking up.
Mm.
You cannot blame them. Fear is strong, and you cannot blame them.
Mm.
And I don't think I should like ask people to do something that put them into harm's way.
Mm.
And it's up to them really to decide what is better for them.
Mm. Do you think that there's ever a time that's too soon for satire?
No,
Never at all.
no. But again, it's really relevant.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, death, disease, whatever." I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is very relevant. It's very relative. Yeah.
It's very relative. So you think that with comedy there should not really be a too soon kind of moment.
I think with comedy you can say whatever you want, but you just have to face the
Be prepared
consequences.
to take the content. This is the thing that I find really hard with this whole cancel culture that's going on now. That
There's
it's
no
really
ca-
blocking comedians from actually being themselves
It's
because
not
they're
blocking
worried.
it. I mean, Ricky Gervais said it best. He said, he's like, nobody's canceling you. You can still go and say whatever you want.
Mm.
The fact that you're worried about people don't like it, that's on you.
Mm. That's very true.
Mm.
And I think there's for your style of comedy as well. I mean, is your stand-up a lot very satire and the same thing, or
My
is it
my satire is more of a my own story.
Mm.
It's like what happened to me, and it's kind of a mixture of like a personal experience and observation comedy.
Mm.
As someone who has been in Egypt and now is an immigrant in the United States,
Mm.
so I take people into this journey.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm not just like cracking jokes.
Mm.
I'm telling a story. There's an arc.
Yeah. And do you feel like that's very kind of accepted in America, because anything that's kind of like, we had to leave to come here to the land of the free and all that stuff, like they like that kind of story where they're kind of helping.
Well, it depends
You-
on what kind of crowd.
Yeah.
So a lot of crowds read that first part of the story, and
Yeah.
then when I come here and then start making fun about Trump, like,
Yeah, they're like,
so it depends on who's in the crowd.
Yeah, and even for like the show, I mean, there's so many different types of the similar kind of show in America, with the Daily Show, with Trevor Noah, with that. I feel like there's a market there for you to continue to do the same thing. But are you not wanting to? I mean, if you were offered the show now, a similar show there, would you want to be doing it, or do you want to go straight down the comedy route?
I have to be very, very, very honest. I don't think I will be. I don't. I mean, one of the things I'm saying is maybe I made it as Al-Bernameg in Egypt, but that doesn't mean I can make it at a similar show in America, because it's already a saturated market.
But there's a huge there isn't an Arabic version. There's a huge
Yeah.
population of Arabs in
No,
America.
it's not. We're 1%.
1% of a lot. It's not 1% of England. It's a big place, no?
No.
No, you don't think so?
1%. 1% is like what, 3 million people.
Yeah. And then you think now stand-up is
Yeah,
is
I
the
mean,
way forward?
look for example as the South Asian, for example,
Mm.
like Hassan Manaj and all those people, because there's a lot of Indians.
Mm.
There's like what, 5, 6, 7%.
Yeah.
Black
There's
people.
a lot of Indians everywhere.
Yeah, no, black
Yeah.
people, black people,
Big
12%,
population.
12 to 15%. Arabs are very new immigrants to the United States,
Mm.
and I think executives don't look at us as a lucrative market.
Mm. Because they're so fresh as.
We're small,
Yeah.
and we're not vocal, and we're not effective.
Yeah.
We're not in a very effective demography for them
Yeah.
for now.
So, do you miss Egypt?
I get asked this question a lot,
Mm.
and my answer is always the same. The Egypt that I miss, I don't think it's there anymore.
It's not there anymore, and it will continue to change as time goes on now, huh?
I don't think about it. I mean, I miss mango,
Yeah.
the Egyptian mango. of course.
Asabo mango, which is the
No,
thing, yeah.
Egyptian mango, man.
Yeah.
I waste nothing like mango.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think about. I try not to think about it. I have so many things on my plate now. I don't think about, like, I don't reminisce.
Mm. But if it was a case of, okay, doors are open, would you go back? Or would you continue this journey that you've now started? Are you at a position where it's like, well, I've now started this is my now goal, I'm kind of tunnel vision on
But
staying in America?
what do you think doors are open? Doors are open to go back and visit, or go back and work?
Go back and work.
Go back and work and do what? Same exact thing that I did.
Yeah.
That entails a seismic political change
Yeah.
that I don't see happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Would you feel safe even if they were like, come, you're welcome back? Would you
I
be like,
don't know.
hey, this is a trick, I know you,
No,
I'm not coming?
it's not about safety. I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to visit.
Yeah.
No, not now. Maybe I'm not prepared to go visit.
And so now,
I mean, despite safety or not, I'm not thinking about even visiting.
And what about family and all of that? Everyone
Well,
Kevin,
I mean, both of my parents are deceased.
Yeah.
I have my brother who he can meet me anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And I have my family, like my wife and my kids there.
So there's no issue with that. It's like
Yeah.
you got everything you need in America.
Exactly.
And you feel like America's the place to be now.
I
for what you need to do.
I am feeling that Los Angeles is my home.
LA in specific.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hear from a lot of people that LA is becoming very difficult when it comes to comedy, and that in this time now with the whole corona.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
with
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
A lot of California has
Mm.
been being very strict. So that's why when I'm going back next week, all of my tour are outside of California.
Texas is doing well with all that
Yeah,
stuff.
they
right?
don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
Texas and Florida, and
Yeah.
that's just like, oh, we don't care. So
That's
we
nuts.
do the stuff that is open, but California, I think they're not coming back in quite a while.
So who are the comedians now? Who were the comedians then, and who are the comedians now? Because obviously, when you first started, the people you kind of looked at and were like, I like the way he does things, will be different now, right? Because now that you have a bigger understanding of comedy,
Well,
have they changed, or are they still the same?
No, I mean, George Carlin is always the top of my list.
Mhm.
Dave Chappelle, of course. Trevor Noah is very brilliant, and Jim Jeffries.
Yeah.
So I always I continue watching them and learn from them.
And now they're becoming your peers, right? So,
Not really.
well, not really.
I mean, many of them don't even
You're
know.
a very humble one.
Many of them don't even know I exist.
But a lot of people, I mean, they haven't seen your bits about the sat-nav yet. So I think maybe you can start putting that into your comedy in the future.
A bit of a what? Sorry.
Your bit about the sat-nav that I experienced just now. The navigation is it's a very good one. But maybe in the future that will slide in there and
Maybe.
people will see that one. I mean, I know America is the place for you with comedy, but do you see a lot of touring here or with the comedy, or not so much? Because it's very young here, right? It's very green when it comes to the comedy world.
Well, you'll be very. I don't know. I mean, like the thing is, like it's weird now that I'm much more comfortable doing stand-up comedy in English than doing it in Arabic. But also, my stand-up comedy is American-centric. So I don't know if I come to America. If it come to, I mean, I don't know. I think I need to try it. I mean, I hope it happens.
I mean, I think you'd be accepted. I mean, if they're bringing you out for other stuff, then why not comedy?
We'll see.
Don't worry, I have a number. I will call him. He will be on the show next week. So
Wow.
where from now? So now back to America. What's the next plans now? Where do you see this going?
Well, I have many.
There's the touring.
I have the touring. I also gonna do a book tour with that. I'm gonna still continue pitching my that travel show to HBO. I'm gonna work on that play with Audible.
Yeah.
And hopefully the touring. Maybe I'm gonna pitch it to Netflix at some point. And in the plan B, I'm gonna continue with the business. I'm gonna see what kind of projects that I might come back to the Arab board and do it. I mean, it's kind of like opening up again, so I will see.
And where did the Maz Jobrani podcast come into play? Where did you guys come into the idea of let's do one together?
So Maz, I consider Maz as an incredible mentor, and I love him. I first watched him in 2007 in a DVD for the Axis of Evil tour.
Ahmed and these guys.
Yeah, and since then I loved him, and I hosted him in Egypt when he came in a stand-up comedy, and then I hosted him in my show, and he hosted me on his podcast, and we became friends. He lives in LA too, and then it was very fresh. Like, I mean, last week he said, I called him, he was like, "Hey, Habibi, listen, hey, why don't you do a podcast together?" I said, "You know what? I have the perfect idea."
Yeah.
So I pitched him my idea, and he loved it, and we're gonna kind of like do a pilot.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna take the pilot and pitch it to different outlets and see.
So you're more kind of not doing it independently. You're more selling it on to.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, here's the thing about podcasts, and you know, there's two ways to do podcasts. Anybody can do a podcast. If you have the right equipment, you do a podcast and do it there, and that's easy. But honestly, I don't want to do that. I want to do it and sell it. I want to have like sponsorship, and I want to have production, and I want to be paid from the get-go, because this is America, and I can't really afford of like, I need to be consistent, and money makes things go around, right?
Yeah. Are you kind of keeping it a secret of the whole vibe behind it, or with the Maz?
No, not at all. I
so
mean,
what's
like,
it about? What's the angle?
I came up with an idea called Between Two Words.
Okay.
And basically everything is between two words. I am from Egypt, he's from Iran. We are immigrants from the Middle East, and we are in America. He's Shia and a Sunni. He's an older immigrant. I'm a younger immigrant. Like, I mean, he came before me.
Yeah.
And there's like all of kind of like things happening in parallel universes. What happens in the Middle East, what happens in America, and we do have this unique perspective that we can bring things together. So we can talk today about politics. We can talk tomorrow about the pandemic. We can talk after tomorrow about the parenting. It's kind of like what happens. What does this mean between two worlds? So that is the kind of conversation we're gonna have.
That's a very interesting one. Are you going to have guests or just strictly?
Well, we have floated the idea of guests, but I said, like, you know what? Let's for a pilot. Let's just do you and me, and kind of like do a demo, and then pitch and chop it around.
And what about Netflix as well? Have you decided, or have you thought about doing a special?
Well, that's the touring thing.
So that one will be on Netflix.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
Again, you know, there's a lot of competition, and we'll see.
Because the Netflix is really the way forward right now. The way
but they have cut down on their. I mean, there was a golden age like 2 years ago when they were like paying everything, and I think they have making a decision kind of like to reduce the number of specials they have every year. But we'll see. You know, it's a very changing world in entertainment. But now there's a lot of outlets. There's like Peacock, and there's Amazon, and there's CBS All Access, and there's Disney, there's Apple. You never know.
And how do you feel like you've changed as a person of who you are from pre-show to post-show?
Yeah, I mean, you have 5 hours. There a lot basically. I think the kind of trauma that we all went through in the Arab Spring, and the kind of, I think everything that was put to the test, my ideals, my principles, everything. And I think the best thing is, how can you recover and fight again? That is important. That is very, very important. And don't be grounded by other people's expectations. That's the most important thing.
Do you feel like there were a lot of expectations on you when the show was cancelled? That
yeah, I mean, everybody wants to like, oh, why don't you fight? It's like, fight for who? For you? Yeah. You're sitting on the couch.
And you're going to come and visit me when I'm in jail?
I mean, I took a conscious decision. I'm not going to fight other people's fights. You know? Yeah. Other people, because they push you to battle and then they then watch you. And that's not fair for me and my family or the people around me that I care about most. So
especially for people that are not on the front line.
Yeah, I mean, but this is like they have it. They just like sit there and just like keyboard warriors. Yeah, and kind of like it at the beginning it was annoying to me, and then I just like kind of started to ignore it.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing. Even to mention the war and that, I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and it's insane the way humans are. Like, back in the days when they used to have war, there'd be guys just carrying the flag in the front, or the guys on the drums, like. What's your mind going through when you're like, okay, I'm gonna drum while you guys run? Like, you have no weapons, no nothing. It's like you're running into a crowd of the thousands crashing into each other, and you're like that.
But even the people on the like carrying the flag or doing the drums, they are in the battlefield.
They're in the battlefield,
and they put themselves in danger. But people behind the screens, they are like a bunch of wussies.
Yeah. Okay, so this is something that I tend to ask towards the end of my podcast. Do you ever, or have you ever come to terms with your mortality? Is that something you think about a lot? Is that something you analyze, or is it kind of like a...
You mean my death?
Yeah.
It happens.
It happens. You have no idea.
Why would I think about it? I'm too busy living.
Yeah, you're too busy living, but it's... I mean, surely there's...
The one thing that I should do is actually to make sure that my family and kids are safe and are taken care of after I die, and otherwise you die, man.
But you have no kind of like thoughts about it. You have no opinions about it.
No.
That's it. Lights out.
Die. It's like you're finishing a book. You're finishing a movie. It's done.
So where does your movie go from here? It goes from America.
Yeah.
And that's it. Comedy is the way forward for you. Doing the plant-based stuff.
Yeah, and at last, like maybe I would come back to the Middle East to do certain projects, but that's all in the works. It's all about. It's still talk.
And with Egypt, do you think that there will be another situation there, or do you think that?
I'm not even thinking about it.
You're not
anymore.
even thinking about it
No.
at all.
Yeah. I don't have the brain space.
Is the connection severed now?
You can say that.
So you were grown up, raised, done, and now it's just like,
Yeah. I'm focusing on my present.
mm,
I'm focusing on my kids' future.
mm,
Again, I told you, I don't reminisce on the past anymore.
mm.
It's
interesting.
it's very consuming and very exhausting, and it's not productive.
At all.
No,
And was it somebody told me that your daughter was writing a book?
no.
It was you who was writing the
I'm
book?
writing the book inspired by her.
Inspired by
the
her.
magical reality of Nadia.
And what is the basis behind that?
So Nadia is in the book is also a daughter of two immigrants coming from Egypt.
Okay.
And when I talked to Scholastic about like writing the book, the whole idea is to write a book with a message to middle school. Nadia is still not middle school,
Okay.
but the fact is I want to give something for daughters and sons of immigrants to appreciate where they come from.
Mm.
And in middle school, this is where young kids start to listen about things about skin color, hair, different ethnicity, different backgrounds, and they become aware of this,
Of their difference.
of their difference. Of like, you're not here, you're coming from somewhere else. And at the end of the day, United States is built on the idea that we are a nation of immigrants. So how can you tackle these things without having it on the nose?
Mm.
And I'm always fascinated by the magic and the history of Egyptian culture, the ancient Egyptian history.
The pharaohs. And
So I would use that tool in order to get Nadia into magical trips and journeys into history, so she can learn about the past to help her in the present.
Is this something that you would do with her before you even started writing the book? Did you kind of, when you would tell her the bedtime stories and this kind of stuff, did you kind of throw that in there?
Because she was very young. She was like 7 and 8. I mean, the book is kind of like more for middle school, so it's kind of like 2-3 years older than her.
Yeah.
But she read the book and she likes it.
It's ready to go. Is it going to be a series of books, or is it just that book for now?
Well, we have a 2-book deal with Scholastic. We already launched the book 1. Book 2 we're finishing. It's going to be ready in October.
Okay.
And we're hoping that it will be picked up by an animation, like there's like an animation studio powerhouse who did Castlevania and Captain Underpants, and he said like they're very interested to actually they did the shopping agreement with us, and they're gonna pitch it to different outlets.
Wow. Do you think it's important to have the not just superheroes, but that kind of, but more of a coming from our part of the world being mixed into children in other countries, and because there isn't really any right now, are there?
I think we have a big chance. I mean, look to Egyptian history and Egyptian heritage. I mean, Game of Thrones. We've done it many times before.
Yeah, but I mean, because there's got to be by now there has to be a hero that's coming from the desert or coming from this kind of area mixed in with the whole Marvel thing. You've got everyone else now. It's time to kind of. Do you not feel like it's time, or do you feel like when it happens, it happens?
It has to. I think it's time.
I find that it's really important to try and teach your kids where they're from. So with my children, they're very mixed. So their mum's Somali English and I'm Lebanese. So it's going to be a very difficult one to kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you're mixed raced or you're Egyptian, because a lot of Egyptians, you can look at them and never, if you're not into the whole Arab world, you can look at them and not know where they're from. So the identity thing, especially living in a different country or living in the UK or living in America. So the importance of that, I think that has to be kind of really worked on, but I don't feel like it is now at all.
Well, I think we are heading towards a very mixed world. And I think having a mixed background is going to be the norm.
Because eventually that's the way that it's going now. Everyone's going to be.
Yeah, because people travel. I mean, it's the distances are much shorter. People just it's easier for people to meet from all over the world. And I think that will be the norm very soon. And I think people will have to accept that we're not just one thing.
Man, it's been emotional as ever. Is there anything that I've missed out? I feel like
no, man. We're very cool.
Are you sure?
We didn't talk about your anti-vaccination theories.
My brother is 100% on your side on that.
We didn't talk about you being an anti-vaxxer.
Well, I'm not
a conspiracy theory. Like, so what's next? Are we ruled by
Look.
a bunch of alien lizards?
Look, the Earth is flat. Deal with it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you're gonna have to come to terms with it.
Oh my God,
As
yeah.
you saw on a globe Earth, your navigation wouldn't have got you here the way this one did on the flat.
Absolutely.
It's very
absolutely.
clear.
So, ladies
know?
and gentlemen, we have a flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, someone who believes in the 5G thing.
Don't
and-
forget Illuminati.
And he believes that Bill Gates is gonna put a tracking device up your rectum.
Well, he has already.
Mm.
Have you not seen the Chinese jabs already? The swabs. Where have they started swabbing, dude?
Exactly.
They're
I
finding,
would.
They're slowly finding the way there.
I'm gonna
dude.
tell you, if like with the 6 laws of separation, if the one thing that is connecting me to Bill Gates is something up my butt, I'll be very happy to be connected to one of the richest men of the world.
Yeah, not through my butt though, man. It's like I'll try and keep it, pure as long as possible because I don't. I don't know. Take your vaccinations. Listen to doctor.
This
Don't listen to
is
me.
just toxic masculinity.
Yeah, that's what it is. No. But just, I'm not gonna get into it
You're
because
w-
I
you're,
want this,
you're one with your
I
butt.
want,
You're
I
one
want
with
this.
your butt.
No. It's not even about that. It's just the whole why. I'm sure there's other swabs you can do, but that must be a last resort. Like I feel like they jumped from nose to butt way quickly, way too quickly.
This is the way. Here's the thing. There is the way of like how people take something in the news and they conflate it. The news is simply is that the Chinese said that like, a lot of people who test negative, they have the virus in their alimentary canal.
Okay.
And the best way to do it is through a butt swab. But they didn't say it is going to be a norm. So this is the way that the news, because
Are they not doing it now?
no, it's an option in order to detect difficult cases. So you see, this is the way of people like how the news is presented and how the news is perceived. Of course, someone who's putting that news like, oh yeah, in a swap, yay.
Okay, but what's a difficult case? Someone who doesn't have it from the nose.
Yeah, someone
is
who
gonna be maybe they'll have it.
Yeah,
in the butt.
but
that's everyone.
But the thing is, like again, the thing is, in medicine, people try to find as many ways as possible of diagnosis. So they discovered that that there is many ways that the virus can be shed through the mucus,
through farting,
or through your butt. So if you find that, so these are like you just add it to the list of possible diagnoses, but doesn't mean that you're gonna do it every time.
All right, but surely they're going to do it every time because if they don't find it in the nose, they can be like, let's just check your butt just in case.
Or if they don't find it in the nose and you have symptoms, they don't need to check it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, who would have thought that this whole thing would have gone into butt talk by the end of it?
I know.
By the end of it.
Because this is what happens when you talk to an anti-vaxxer.
Guys, it's been emotional. It's been amazing to have you here, dude. And you're more than welcome anytime to come back. And we'll hope to see you back. We still have that training session we need to do.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's it, bro. Thank you for gibbering with Jabber.
Thank you for thank you for the Jibber Jabber.
I hope I've been able to keep up with you.
No, you were amazing. That was amazing gibbering with Jabber. Jibber Jabber Jabber Jibber Jabber Jabber Jibbering.
Boom, guys. I'll see you later.